Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Combat Podcast. It is Hollywood Matt Connolly here with the double bicep. It is in the contract, is a legal requirement. If you didn't get your copy, please email us and we will send one out to you. My co-host, co-founder, co-pilot, as always, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award, except for those early years in the 90s when you did lose it to Vince Ronaldo and Vince Colosimo as well. He stole one too.
Two years in a row.
That's right. It was good area for Vince's, if your name was Vince. It is, in fact, Dave Stockbridge. And our special guest today, somebody who inspires me, who has been on a tear in terms of content production. This man is an absolute superstar. It's just until the general public catches on to his talent. He recently hosted the Over the Top 2 arm wrestling tournament in the Gold Coast with Larry Wheels, has an incredibly strong mental outlook and is an inspiration for anybody. He has a very colorful story and interesting past of characters and careers, and has definitely served as an inspiration for myself. So it is, in fact, the Aussie arm wrestler, Jake Ward. Welcome to the show.
Hey, ready, bang! Very, very excited to be on the show. Big fan, if I must say so myself. Love what you guys are doing, and yeah. So once I got the call up and said, "You want to come on the show?" It was a big, absolutely name a time and date, and let's rock and roll. So very keen to have a chat with you guys. Love what you're doing.
Fantastic, Jake. So we now know you as this big, famous arm wrestling influencer, commentator, talking to the greats of the sport and the up and coming, basically on a daily basis now. But was it always this way, Jake? Where did this burning ambition come from to ditch the 9 to 5, to walk away from the daily job, and to elevate yourself into the world of sports influencers?
Well, yeah, I still get a bit weird when you say like sports influencer and famous and things like that.
Do you have a title you prefer? Ready, banger. I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you like.
Your Excellency. I think your Excellency.
Aussie arm wrestler. No, it's just that it's all been a very, very humbling experience ever since the first time I whipped out a video on social media, and never 90% of me never thought that it would get to where it is. But 10% of me went, this is where you need to be, and you need to be getting bigger. So it was always like anything. Everyone has a journey. Everyone has a story, and the behind the scenes stories are sometimes usually better than the end product. So it all started, the Aussie arm wrestler persona. It all started with, it actually was going in a different direction. I just pulled at the 2019 national tournament in Federation Square, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do a journey from one national tournament to another. And that even bored me thinking of that. Like, that bored me, but I didn't really know what else to do. I knew arm wrestling was what I needed to do. I knew I had something. So I was like, okay.
Did you think you could go pro as an arm wrestler?
I did have aspirations, but then when it takes me 3 or 4 goes to get up off the couch and your body's riddled with arthritis and everything, it's like, I might be a pro arm wrestler something, but I don't think it was a competitor. And so, yeah, so from there, the journey went, and I did the whole social media thing, and I'm there at training, and I'm like, oh, let's whack a camera here and film ourselves training. And I was like, cool. And it wasn't until one of my brothers, the middle brother of the 3, I'm the youngest, and he was just like, dude, why don't you commentate? You've commentated your whole life. You watch sport all your life. Whatever sport you're watching, you'll give your own analysis, apopness, puteness. I'll even make up stuff. Like, he was just like, you love calling the action. You know, you love calling the action. And I am very technologically challenged. So I was like, oh, man, I don't have any of the equipment to do it. Bam. No longer than 2 minutes later, I'm at work, and I get a 30-second video of Paul Lynn versus Paul Talbot from WAL. And my brother just went, yeah, I did this while taking a shit. And it was him. It was him just doing a voiceover. It was just him going, and Paul Lynn's going to come in with a hook and watch out for the top roll, and that's the pin. Check out more videos here. And he just showed me how to do that. So I was like, oh, we're on here.
Yeah. If it's that easy, So where did you get this natural kind of mind for analysis and the ability to be able to take what's in here and get it to come out of here?
Oh, I come from a long line of talkers, both sides of the family. And when you are the youngest out of all of them, you got to learn or you miss out. So for me, it was like my mum and dad are awesome and they're just talkers. And I think they're two of the most funniest people in the world. And then I've got two brothers and I think they are hilarious. Ironically, the middle brother is probably one of the best talkers I've ever met. And I'm glad he's my brother. So like cousins and aunties and uncles, both my mum and dad had massive, massive families. And I'm right.
So it's a talking lineage here.
Yeah.
It's a talking lineage.
Oh, most people
distilling over generations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Most people get genetics with like massive shoulders or be able to be 6'5". We just have iron lungs. We can go. We can absolutely go when it comes to talking. And yeah, and that's just how it
I
comes.
got to tell you, like, no one else would be able to get on the stage and do a performance like you did over the top. You were absolutely phenomenal. The entire day, I think it was like the 10-hour day of non-stop commentary. This man put everything into everything, kept everything interesting. There was matches going on left, right, and center, and you were able to commentate like it was the pristine, the excellence that you showed on that day was just amazing. It was like the energy level started at 10 and stayed there the whole day.
But it does sound like your brother probably could have done a better job. So
can you get him next time?
Not a chance. Not in arm wrestling. No, not in arm wrestling. He could. He's very good at selling, and he helps me out a lot of the time. He might watch something and he goes, "Hey man, I watched your last podcast." He goes, I, instead of saying this word, say this word. And, or if I do something, he'll watch it and go, keep doing that. Keep doing that. That's because he's into sales. That's his full-time job. He provides for his whole family. He's done it for 10, 15 years and he's quite good at it. So it's very good. Sometimes, like brothers, sometimes something he says just might not hit the mark in the arm wrestling world. But when it came to over the top, I was in my element. 10 hours wasn't enough. I absolutely loved it. Live on pay-per-view, I had the best seat in the house. I was allowed full access to the stage. 4 tables, all just surrounded me. I looked like that girl on the Pornhub on the Pornhub couch, with all these arm wrestlers behind. I absolutely loved it. It was it was a finer moment, and I was really. I mean, you can't please everyone, but I was very, very humbled by the end of it. Not only the people at the event, but the people watching home, and even a week or two later, people still letting me know that it was.
So that'd be the biggest event to date. And what led to that opportunity?
So it just the whole growth of this. The first time it all happened, we ran a Melbourne Cup 2019 Melbourne Cup tournament, and the gentleman that usually does all the brackets, Julian Beckett, he couldn't make it. So I was like, show me how to do the brackets. I want to help. We can't just have the same person refereeing the same. So back then I wanted to do it all. And this was before it was either, or I just started filming. And I looked around and we were there and we had some matches and whatnot. And I was like, no one's like grabbing this by the ball. So I was like, I'm on here. So I just
time to shine.
Yeah, I just naturally became the host of the show. So I was like, I'm here. We're in a pub. It was like 2019 Melbourne Cup. Here we go. Next to the table, we got these two. And when I was handing out the trophies, I do my little spiel. And so
you
Andrew,
filled the vacuum.
Yeah, Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you were able to. But you're able to also acknowledge that there was a vacuum. Seemingly nobody else had filled to this time.
Oh, I have a sixth sense for that. When there's an opportunity for someone to take the stage, if there's dead air, I'm all over it. That's my sixth sense. So, and I'm all about.
It's your superpower.
I'm all about creating opportunities, not waiting for opportunities. So I was like, because what's the worst thing? The people running the event are going to tell me to shut up. Cool, that's okay. That's fine. So then afterwards, Andrew Lee, who pretty much runs Victorian Arm Wrestling, he was like, at the end of it, he was like, you are hosting every single event we do. And because no one knew I had this talent, I was just some guy with spaghetti arms on the table no one really wanted to play with. So then, he sent some footage to Presidential Phil Rasmussen. And then I was going to host with Travis Bagent. And I hadn't even I'd maybe done one podcast. And and he was big pushing. He was like, get Travis, but Travis needs Jake that we've got here. This guy from Melbourne. And so we're
talking about all-time great talkers, Travis Bagent.
Oh, Travis Bagent's one of the best. One of the best storytellers to come across. And I watch him and I study the way he tells stories as well, because I'm always willing to adapt and learn and alter what I do. Like when most people go to the
usually
gym.
Drunk storytelling from Travis, isn't it?
And he does it well. And then with everything that had led on, Phil just rang me and he's like, we need you at the biggest event. How can we get you here? And we had a chat. And of course I was going to come. Of course, I was going to grab the microphone in any capacity. And I think so. We worked out a plan. And after about 15 minutes into the tournament, he just said, "You do your thing. I'll take care of some other stuff." And
here's the range.
It's funny that actually the first time that I saw you arm wrestle, because I'd seen so much of your commentary stuff and your videos and everything else. And I was like, I think he might also arm wrestle, but I don't know if he does, because I'd never seen any videos. And then there was a match. I was like, oh, here he is. He's actually arm wrestling. And I think you won as well. So it was like, well, there you go.
There's been a bit of arm wrestling. Like there was a stage where I felt like I was progressing well and getting relatively strong, but then I had about 18 months off, personal circumstances, just like everyone else in the world. We had some not the great news here in the Aussie ArmWrestler household, and that was my family always take priority. So the training stopped, but in an essence, it was almost a blessing, because it allowed me to really find what my niche, or find what I was good at in the commentary, in the hosting side of things. Because during that 18 months where I wasn't really training, well, if my wife was asleep or something, I was able to search for some arm wrestling. Oh, I'd love to call that match. And then I was able to go to a quiet space, or even sit in the car. Some of the early matches that I call on Instagram are just sitting in my car so I wouldn't wake up my wife, and just screaming in the car. And I was one take, throw it out there, and then I could go back and keep an eye on my wife. So the building up, the progressions, it's quite fun, quite humbling. There's certainly some interesting stories.
And do you remember the moment when it became possible, or where it started to dawn on you that this could be your full-time gig?
Full-time, no. The
full-time Aussie arm wrestler.
Yeah, so there was a couple of key moments in there. And the first moment, I think it was like my third or fourth match ever calling on Instagram. And I was doing your analytical one. And Dave Stockbridge comes to the table and he's pulling Hollywood Matt Connolly, and there they go. And Dave, if you watch here, he's gone in for a hook, but Matt has noticed the fingers are gone, and watch him top roll to win the match. And then I was like,
so it's like he's seen his arm wrestle.
Yes.
and people were liking it. And then I thought, well, you can't get banned for swearing. Now, I don't swear much, but I thought people find it funny. And then I think it was the third or fourth match, I dropped an F-bomb in the middle of the match. And then it just exploded on Instagram. And everyone was like, oh, this dude's hilarious. And everyone's tagging each other. For a stage there, people thought I was Aussie Man Reviews. And I used to spend
Yeah,
a
I can see
lot
the
of time
similarity.
saying, no.
I was going to ask whether you're one and the same person.
Yeah.
And like people were sharing all my videos and they're like, oh man, this Aussie Man Reviews guy's like, I think he's an arm wrestler. He knows, like, is the terminology I was using. So I had to keep like surf on the internet. And I was like, we're two different people. It's okay. More than one Australian is allowed to commentate and do voiceover videos. It's okay, guys.
Check the rules, and it says.
Yeah, so that was one key moment. And then I remember doing three key moments. The second one was I remember doing a podcast with Jeff Hale. And he was sitting there and he's like, man, my wife and I, we get on the couch every night and we watch your video. So, because I was doing it every single day, and they're like, and we rewatch it. So when you've got like 10 videos there, 15 videos, we play them all and we have a laugh while we have a drink before we go to bed. And I was like, wow, like I'm watching this guy on TV and he's watching me as well. So that was a real game changer. But when it came to the full-time aspect, there wasn't a moment where I thought I could make this viable. What had happened was I had a beautiful woman that backed me. So I was working and circumstances arise and I had to change jobs, and I was enjoying what I was doing, but it was taking up so much of the day. It was an hour to drive there. It was a 10, 11-hour day. And it was an hour to drive home. Sometimes, I'd have my grumpy pants on and my wife would call me out. So then it was my beautiful wife that suggested it. She went, why don't you just do this full time? Let's see what happens. So back then I was making $30 a week. And she was like, we can do it. Let's,
we can live on that.
We're not big spenders. My wife is working full time. She's on maternity leave at the moment. So she was like, look, our financials are solid. We're in a really good position. The time is now. And I'm big on just having a crack. Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I go back and find a job. But at least while I'm like if I went back and got another job, at least I can sit there and go, you know what? I gave it a go. I gave it a fair go of having this full time. Now we're coming up to 3 months and there is no chance. I can't go back to work after doing this.
Don't ever go back. That's one of the best moments I've ever seen. I love it when people are able to do that, when you're able to take a chance. And that video you did where you put the keys back on the table, you're like, I'm done. It's out. I've finished. I'm going for my dream, what I want to do. That's one of the best things I've seen on the internet ever. And that's why I was like, this guy is my hero. I think, and anybody who does that is, I want to see more of that. I love when people take chances.
I want to see you do it.
I am doing it. Hey, I'm here right now. I should be asleep. I've been up all night.
Yeah, and that's how it all starts, man. Like the alarm sets off at 2 a.m. because, someone overseas has agreed to do a podcast with me. And I'd been hounding him for months. So you make time, you set your alarm, and you're just trying to wake up, because the internet is very, very hard. The internet's very, you guys would know, you can have the best quality content out there, but if no one's watching it, it's not going to pay the bills. And that moment there where I filmed and I said I quit, and I did maybe a little bit of a clickbait thumbnail, but, I'm not big on that, but I did do a little one. What made it reassuring for me was the response from that video, and my phone went nuts. The first person to call me, I couldn't believe it. The first person to call me, so that video was live for 3 minutes.
Was it your boss?
Ron Barth. Ron Barth called me. Ron Barth was on the phone.
Oh, Ron Barth.
Really?
Wow. That's awesome.
He was like, he's like, hey man, I'm here with Angie. We almost strangled you. Because you can't leave our sport. Like, terrible Ron Barth accent. I don't know how he talks, but yeah, he was just like,
oh, that's so being clipped.
yeah. But yeah, he was like, there's no way we can't have you leave the sport. And I'm like, this was like at one stage the second best arm wrestler on the planet, a legend, a living legend of the sport. And he's like, I still tell people off because I gave Ron the nickname Ron Bubble Bath. If you guys have seen my videos, anytime I introduce him, he comes on the show, or anytime I mention him or interview him, and he's always Ron Bubble Bath. And, we have a side bet. Anytime I mention it, I have to buy him a beer when he comes to Australia. But he's told people off on other shows. If anyone tells him, if anyone goes, oh, Ron Bubble Bath, he's stopped people and he goes, no. And the Aussie Arm Wrestler calls me that.
Wow.
So it's little things like that.
You've made it then.
Yeah. So then he rang and he's just like, man, whatever you need, let me know.
Money.
And I was like, cool. Well, you just got robbed in East versus West too. Come on the show and talk about it. He's like, done. Give me a time. And so I just quit. And then, Ron and Angie's on the show, and I'm able to spend more time and produce content. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Like today, for a huge example, I spent like 4 or 5 hours on a video, making it, trying to do a fun little edit. Video goes for like 3.5 minutes and no one's watched it. So it's like, all right, back to the drawing board. But yeah, the response from the arm wrestling community when I gave it a go, I still get messages and I still get phone calls, and the response, I don't like to use the word like inspiration or things like that, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when people say it. They're like, man, I would love to do what you did. And it's pretty cool being known, temporarily as the guy. Hey man, he filmed it. He went and quit his job. And I didn't have massive numbers. I had like 2,300 subscribers, which in my eyes was like huge. I was making $30 a week. And yeah, so I was like, I'm on. Let's give it a go. And my whole life, everything that I've done is just give it a go, because two things will happen. It'll work or it won't.
Well, I've certainly used you as an example, even to my own son, as a story of inspiration. So, mate, there's obviously plenty of eyeballs on you and enjoying your journey. So how long has it been now where you've been full-time Aussie arm wrestler, YouTuber, influencer? 6 months?
3 months. So 3 months.
Only 3 months.
3 months to the day. I'd have to check out that video. I believe it was the 19th of February. It was around mid-February, where literally went to work, and then like I slept on it a couple of nights. And when a beautiful woman gives you such like the words you want to hear, you got to let it sit for a while, because it could be a trap. Oh yeah. Go have a drink with your friends at the pub. Go on, go have a drink. Yeah, go on. Quit your job. Quit your job and be full-time YouTuber. But so my wife had brought it up once, and she'd brought it up twice, and then she'd brought it up again over separate occasions.
Third time you lock it in.
Yeah. Well, you don't get that many opportunities. And considering
I told you to do it years ago.
But not only that, like the kicker of why I think it's like, and why I'm even more determined to make it work, because we were 24 weeks pregnant with our first child. And during then, my wife's saying, let's not take this guaranteed bulk cash. Let's build on this little cash a week. And let's see where you go. We'll be fine. We've got each other. We're on. So, yeah, at this stage, 3 months in, I feel invincible. Whether one person watches or 1 million people watch, I feel on. I feel ready to go. I feel like I've got a niche market in our awesome sport. I've branched out in other sports, combat sports as well. that I feel like I can infiltrate into that as well. I don't want to dethrone anyone. I don't want to sound like I'm up myself. I don't want to degrade anyone else or any,
You're the best of all time and everyone else sucks.
People. But yeah, I feel like I'm the man at the moment. I feel like I'm the man. And that's thanks to my beautiful wife. She just makes me feel like the man. And then when the internet community, just come in droves whenever I'm doing anything, you can't help but not feel like you're doing something really good.
When you were streaming the other night, there was the Paul Gallen boxing match, and I think I jumped in quite early on your stream. There was still the undercard that was happening. I was able to write in the chat and get a couple of responses from you because it wasn't blistering along. And then I sort of went and did some other things, and I came back about, I don't know, an hour and a half later when the main events had sort of started. That chat was flying.
No time for Matthew Connolly.
No. Well, hey, and I went, I know where I'm not wanted, but but no, you couldn't even read the messages. There was so much support, so many people in there watching the event with yourself. So I think it was really quite clever that you jumped on that and figured out that, hey, I don't just have to be an arm wrestling commentator. Like, people like watching me and my take on stuff.
And is that a matter of you identifying that the arm wrestling demographic is also a combat sport demographic, or is it, this is just your interest? This is what you'd want to, if you had the time to do it, you would just be doing it anyway.
Yeah. So I love all sports. Like I even love lawn bowls, the Westminster Dog Show. Like I'll watch anything. I love any sort of sport. I love learning about new sports. It just instills with me. And I sat there and the whole going into another realm of sport came from when Eddie Hall boxed Thor. So I thought, I'm going to do this because Eddie Hall was originally going to pull in WAL. Hap Thor boxed Devin Lorette, who is, instilled into our sport. So I was like, I'm just going to call it. It's two YouTubers. It's two very well-known people. And a couple of other people, I think, tried, like, in the arm wrestling world, but I was very fortunate enough to win that day. And I had at one stage just under 5,000 people watching me live. And it wasn't a pay-per-view as well. It wasn't a pay-per-view. It was free. The fight was free. So then, so then I was like, okay, you have to now expand. So I've done 3 boxing events. I've done a UFC event. I've done basketball, and the NBA finals are coming up soon. So I've just got to try and fit that in the schedule to call as many. And the one thing that I've thoroughly enjoyed and being able to go, that's not a bad thing. So when these people that have never seen what I do before come from another sport, they've stayed. They haven't just watched, stayed for a week, unsubscribed, or ended their membership. They're like, oh, man, yeah, okay. I get this dude. Yeah, this wasn't a one-off that we've come across him. This dude's the same all the time. He just goes about it. And sometimes when I'm doing my streams, I'll get a Hollywood Matt Connolly, but then I'll get like one guy's name's Drunken Boxing MMA. And, and he's come on board. And
that's
a lot
also
of people, well, your burner accounts are making me look good, so I do appreciate it. Everyone's coming on board and they're staying. They're like, oh, my wife and I just somehow, like with the Paul Gallen thing, I was trying to read some comments. They're like, yeah, I don't know how we came across this, but we did, but we're on. We love you. We'll watch everything you do. And it's like, that's pretty cool.
All right.
that chat was scrolling so fast. You literally couldn't read it. There was that many people in there and that many people writing comments. It was awesome.
So that's obviously one of the highlights so far, and the recent over-the-top tournament in Queensland to date, biggest event that you've emceed, and I guess so. And what's been the flow-on effect of that event? Has that opened you up to an even greater audience now?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I think it just reaffirmed me in the oceanic area. So
Yep.
that's just reaffirmed. They're like, oh, yeah, I've seen this guy do some podcasts and like, oh, hang on, this guy can go. The biggest door that it's probably opened is the relationship with Larry Wheels.
Yep.
That's been phenomenal. Like Larry doesn't do many arm wrestling podcasts. In fact, he's slowly doing a lot more now. I've seen him jump on one or two more, but I've only ever seen him on one other arm wrestling podcast in his 2 years. And then the second podcast I ever saw him on, I was hosting it. So opening the door, and it was just another angle. So I told Larry and Adam on the day of Over the Top, I said, this was purely an audition for you. I want to be at King of the Table. I made it known, and they had mentioned that my name gets brought up and, whether it's worth, getting me over, but that, and then having them on the podcast and they show the range that I can go, like I can be up and about, I can be your hype man, but I can also do a podcast. We can have a bit of fun. I can ask you proper questions, but I can also ask you fun questions to lighten the mood. And yeah, they didn't ask for anything. And Larry and Adam were great, and they always keep in contact now. So I featured heavily, which helped my channel a bit. So Larry whipped out, I think it was a 15 minute video on his channel about his first arm wrestling tournament. And I feature on there twice, and I probably take up about 5 minutes. So a third of his video, it's me.
You were on that day, man. You hit it out the park for sure. I was in the room when you met Larry, or you said hello, and it was just instantly, straight away, bang, you were right there. I could hear your voice. You were boom, 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 boom for 5-6 minutes straight. And Larry was like, yeah, I'm okay. But it was flying. You were from that point on, it was like you hit the ground absolutely running, and it was the whole day. You couldn't have hired anyone else in the world that would have done a better job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for me, because what had happened was I was standing there and I was just really
available.
Yes. If your brother's not, then
yeah, if your brother's not available, yeah, I'm the second best. But it was just cool. Like I was standing at the tables, I was just loving it because I love the movie Over the Top. Like I froth it, I watch it all the time, and so. All I hear is a ready bang. And then I turn around and it's like he's called my catchphrase out and he's called me. So that's why I went over and he's just standing there. And we spent about 45 minutes together. Like he could have just gone, all right, I'm going to go say hi to everyone else, or I'm going to go do my thing and get some photos. But he didn't they both didn't want to leave. And I was just, we were just jaw-jacking. And for me, once again, I created that opportunity. I could have just done the 2 minutes. Oh yeah, Larry, you got to get on with your day, and good luck and everything. But I was like, nah, man, this dude might not ever come back. He's the arguably the biggest name in our sport. He is subscription-wise on YouTube, so I had to take it. I had to let him know that I'm, whether I'm a co-host, whether I'm an MC, whether I'm a commentator, I wanted to make sure that when you run King of the Table, you need the Aussie ArmWrestler. That was my goal when meeting him. And I just wanted to show him that I'm exactly the same on camera as I am off camera. Like I'm always in a good mood.
Do you think he had soft hands?
He did. That was one of the not one of the first things I said. Oh, when we gripped up on the table, I was like, "These are soft." He's like, "Oh yeah, I use moisturizer," and I was like, "That's cool of you to admit." Oh, I didn't care. It was nice. Not rubbing my hands against strong concrete calluses and things like that. So I was like, "Yeah, awesome." And we sat there and gazed into each other's eyes, and it was beautiful. But they were big pillows, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was strange. I went to shake his hand, but I was like, excited to meet Larry, and it's like, hey, Larry, nice to meet you. And then I didn't react to it, but I was like, hey, his hands were the softest hands I've ever felt.
Old velvet hands.
Yeah, it was. It was 10 times softer than it was like putting your hand into a cloud. It was kind of
yeah. Someone that's bench pressing hundreds of kilos. Yeah, you're not expecting to just grab his hand and then caress it across your own face, like, then go, oh, that's nice. That's nice, Larry.
How do you think he went with his performance on the day?
Exactly how I predicted it, and I have it on video. Exactly how I predicted it. Called it. I predicted he'd go top 5. Now, if he had pulled the match, like if his match with Ryan was the next match, he would have finished top 5. It was only because he pulled before Mario Matawangi. So in my eyes, he still finished top 5. It was exactly how I thought it was going to go. He was going to outpower the lower end because he's 129 kilos thick. So he could just rely on power. But then when he came up to that echelon, when it came to arm wrestling, I knew he was, regardless of the size of the person, I knew he was going to be out arm wrestled. And it was shown once he went up against Mario Tambakis and Ryan Bowen.
And how much of a coup do you think it was to have Larry Wheels there?
I think it's a huge coup for the sport. I thought it was a huge coup for me personally. For over the top, I would say it was a huge success. It was great to get it there.
What would the event look like if he wasn't there?
I still think the event itself would have been massive. A lot of us just itching to arm wrestle. A lot of people that were dying to meet Larry, I believe, still would have came to the event because the majority of them jumped on the table. It was great. It was great that we got him. It was great. I can't do that, but I think not that I have the best business brain, but I would have attacked things differently. Now, I can say that sitting from the outside. I didn't have to organize anything for the event. So sometimes things can slip or you rely heavily on other people. And Phil and Tom did an outstanding job. That was 11 out of 10, top notch. But yeah, it was great. It was definitely great. But like anything, you can always do things better.
And how would you do things better?
I would have just lent on Larry to promote the tournament. Help us, help you. I would have asked. I would have asked for just a couple of short 2-minute videos on his YouTube, sharing the link and everything. Like he did a podcast with myself and Ryan, like before the event, and there was just so much going on. Larry's presence was fantastic, but I would have lent on Larry a lot more. Like, during the event, could you just go live for 10 minutes and say, hey, get the pay-per-view. I'm about to pull my first match. The open class is going to come. Here's the pay-per-view link. And that would have helped us more. Larry and Adam, don't get me wrong. Larry and Adam were phenomenal the way they treated everyone. Larry was unreal, making sure he spoke to just about every single person in the room and every single person get their photo and pulling on the after tables and everything. Yeah, they were fantastic. But of course, when you've got someone with 2.3 million subscribers, if you can get on their channel, of course it's going to do a lot more business than my 5,000 channel and someone else's 6,000 channel. But yeah, I would have asked.
Let's say hypothetically, Larry had done those things. Do you think it's more valuable to have a Larry Wheels or somebody of that stature and following at an event than maybe even some of the great arm wrestlers?
Yes. His social media following is unbelievable. So yeah, it can be. It's like if you're running a boxing event, you're getting Jake Paul at your event. He's the first person on your list. Not the best boxer, but if you are promoting and if you are wanting to sell pay-per-views, you've got to get the hottest thing. Larry never pulled in a tournament. That was our niche. Not only did we get Larry, but he'd never been in the tournament. Now, big names are wanting to come over, but if you go down and say an Hermes Gasparini come over, that's great for us arm wrestling lunatics. But average Joe, who's probably got the Saturday afternoon off and he's looking to spend $10 and sit on the couch and have a couple of beers, he's not paying the $10 to watch Hermes pull in a tournament. So he would almost be second or third on the list to get to your event. Hence why the success that we had in Australia, he's now a guest at East versus West on the weekend.
Yeah, interesting. The follow on even for him from an event like that when it's executed really well. He's proven to be a fantastic ambassador for the sport as well.
Oh,
one of the things that Larry did that sorry to cut you off, Jake. That he did was when he first got into arm wrestling and he decided he was going to have a match. His opponent that he picked was Schoolboy, who's actually a fantastic arm wrestler. And it's like, I think it was such a clever move that Larry did that, because he wanted to show these sort of, well, if you were into arm wrestling, you knew Schoolboy was going to destroy him. But it created that ability for the outside, for the mainstream audience to go, oh, Schoolboy, he's wearing a Mickey Mouse t-shirt and he's got a backpack and his glasses and stuff. Oh, Larry should crush him, Larry, this 130 kilo muscular giant, a gorilla guy, who should be able to destroy this, Schoolboy character. And obviously Schoolboy just toyed with him, but that was so clever of Larry to do that, in terms of, I know he gave it his best shot, he wanted to win, but the fact that he wasn't scared of losing, and he didn't just pick somebody he was just going to crush. It was like, I'm actually going against somebody really good, and from the outsider's perspective, they think this guy's not good, but the insiders, they all know that this guy's a killer. So he put himself in a position where he wasn't afraid to fail, and I think that was really clever, and I really respect that he did that.
It was the perfect opponent. It was a masterclass of business 101. It was the perfect opponent. So it was a man at that stage, I think it was 1.7 million subscribers. He is now being able to collaborate with someone with, I think at that stage was just under 1 million subscribers. So the swirling effect, they both got like between 200,000 and 500,000 subscribers of each people. It was never going to hurt Larry's brand by losing. It was never going to, because it's a strong man who's been training for a year, having his first super match against a young quality opponent who is now an under-22s world champion. So Schoolboy has been training and lifting heavy. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the way that they do it, it was brilliant for content creators like us, because you chuck a thumbnail and do it properly with Larry Wheels and Schoolboy, you're getting those bonus views normally that you wouldn't have. And I got a lot of promotion and things from that by being able to talk about it and explaining who I think's going to win and why and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I thought Larry hit the nail on the head with that one.
So in between these big events, and you're obviously giving all of these things a great deal of thought. How do you work your week out, and what does your content mix come from? Is it just a constant evolution, or is there some things that you're doing every week that are now staples of your activities? How do you now take what you've just learned and now apply that in your everyday as you continue to build a following?
The content, I try and go live 3 or 4 times a week. I just love going live and just being able to talk to as many people in the comments section. And
is that ever scheduled? Is that scheduled to happen at a time, or do you just go live when you're free?
No. I have particular scheduled times, because you've got to study where your predominant audience is from. You've got to watch what other people are doing. There's a couple of arm wrestlers out there that study like there's no other, and just watching their results is really good. So yeah, because by just going live, you are really hurting yourself. Yes, like I'm a spontaneous person, and it's like, yeah, I'll just go live now. Well, it might take people 15, 20 minutes to find you. Now, people already like what's famous.
It's like the
People
news
already
at 6 p.m.,
what's
isn't it?
popular. Yeah. So if I'm scheduled for a live, I can have sometimes up to 30 people waiting. So as soon as I go live, I've got 30 people in the chat. I haven't got drips and drabs coming in. So then when that's then fed out to the rest of YouTube, then it's like, oh, there's 50 people watching. Oh, there's 100 people. Oh, there's 200 people. That must be the place to be. I don't want to miss out. They might not enjoy the content, but they're like, there's 200 people here. I must be here. This is where I have to be. So I have a minimum of 3 scheduled lives a week, and sometimes I might do a 4th one. And then, of course, if there's any commentary on the weekends in any event, then, of course, I usually go on about an hour beforehand, and we do our own pre-show and then straight into the event and then the after show all in one hit, so they can be big days. When it comes to like filming videos, just whatever comes to mind. Just I'll be like, yeah, okay, I've got this, and then now I'm going to film this, because now I'm in a very rock and a hard place. Not so much a rock and a hard place. I've got the best job in the world, but like I get up and I'll get up, I'll put the kettle on, and it's right. What's happening in the arm wrestling world while I've had a nap? And I'll surf everything. I'll try and reply, because I'm huge on interaction. So I'll try and reply to as many people as I can. You can't reply to everyone. It is very hard. So then I do that. So then it's, okay, let's, what day is it? You're going live. Where are you going? Okay. And then I'll schedule that. Then it becomes planning the future. So I need to either start making a future video, or working on another video, or working on another project. But now I'm in a place where I think I need sponsors for the show. Now, I'm no good at asking for a handout. I'm trying to land some big fish, but it can be a little bit difficult doing that. So hopefully soon we'll have some sponsors on the show, which then of course helps, have that.
And what brought you to that realization that you need sponsors over and above the monetization?
Because I don't always want to go and grab from the same water from the same well. That's going to stop. So at the moment, when I go live, I have some very, very, very loyal people. Some very loyal people, and they will donate a lot of money, which not astronomical a lot of money, but they certainly helps. It certainly helps keeps this dream alive. Now you don't want to be relying on that. You want to have other avenues. So like I have a Patreon, and I have YouTube memberships, and now I've just been qualified for subscriptions on Facebook. So that if that base builds up, and say I have a quiet week on the super chats things, it's like, it's okay. You've got such a, these many members across all the levels. That's okay. And you've got sponsor A and sponsor B. So your base level is fine. And then everything that is a bonus. But that's all, that'll all come, because I'm always going to do this. And I always try and show my gratitude and appreciation for the people that do support the channel in any aspect. And I always get people messaging me, oh, sorry, I couldn't donate any money to the show. And it's like, man, you donated your time. That's the most expensive thing anyone can donate. You gave me an hour. You were in there. I saw you in the chat. You're in there for an hour. You watched it for an hour. Don't worry, man. Don't worry about that. We'll get there. we'll get there together. I went 3 months ago. I went from 2,300 subscribers to now punched over 5,000. So we're going to grow, and we're going to grow together. And I'm going to bring as many ships up with me as the bigger channels have done for me, and willing to help out.
It's funny. It's so good because in Australia, especially, there's not many people that are really covering the niche sport of arm wrestling. There's maybe 3 or 4 guys that are doing consistent content. And then when we went to the over-the-top tournament in the Gold Coast, like anyone that was interested in arm wrestling in the whole Southern Hemisphere was there. And when I walked into that room, I felt people recognizing me. And they're giving you that look of like they know you. And it was like, how do they know me? And then they're coming up going, oh, yeah, Connolly from the thing. And I'm like, yeah. And then, oh, what's your podcast? Oh, what's your show? And I was like, what? Like we put stuff up and get 10 views. And it's like, are you one of the 10? Like, but the people.
It was funny because we do know them all by name.
Yeah, that's right.
So for us, it's easy.
but when they came up, and it was like the people who are watching are really into it. Like they really do watch, and they care about the stuff, and they know that you're one of the people doing it. And so when we were at the event, I saw at least 10 Aussie Arm Wrestler t-shirts floating around by top level competitors as well that were competing on the stage in your brand. It was like, well, there you go, you're doing something right.
He's sponsoring arm wrestlers. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very mind blowing when someone's like, oh, I want to buy a t-shirt, and suddenly you're shipping it. Like what was one country, like Kazakhstan? Like I sent a t-shirt to Kazakhstan, and Sweden and things like that. But yeah, it is very humbling. It's great because then you're doing something right. Whether if you could sit there in your rocking chair at 60, 70 years old, maybe 50 with the way my body is, and really sat there and go, I changed one person's life. Well, then you're up and about. You're like, I've really made a difference. Now, you say you guys put out your content and you get 10 views, but man, 10 people stop what they were doing to watch what you guys were doing, and then to come up and say hi. So yeah, it's very humbling. It's and then a part of me is like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Walk in a room and everyone yells the catchphrase or wants to come over and ask a story about one of my shows that I've done. Or the weird thing, like get a photo or something like that. It's great. It's great. So cool. But when I go like tell my wife, I kind of cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh, you're not gonna believe it, babe. Yeah, like all these people, or someone wanted my autograph. Like I signed like 4 things at Over the Top, and I was like, I've never signed an Aussie Arm Wrestler autograph. I didn't know how to sign it. So
that's a good point. What did you write?
There.
Did you create something on the spot?
Yeah, had to, because I just thought no one really asked for.
How do you spell? What who am I again?
That whole concept of it.
Me.
Yeah, it's so cool. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I don't really care where you are on the totem pole. If you want to come up and say hello, I'll spend some time with you. You don't have to be an elite level person. I'm just lucky elite level people want to come on the show.
And is there any difference between Jake Ward and the Aussie Arm Wrestler? Is there a switch that turns on or gets fired up, or you get amped up another 10% when you pull on the Aussie Arm Wrestler cape? But is there
the only difference
or is it, are you just like this all the time?
Yeah, the only difference is the name. That's all.
Yeah.
Jake Ward is the Aussie Arm Wrestler. The Aussie Arm Wrestler is Jake Ward. With the Aussie Arm Wrestler, you just don't see the aggressive side, because I've got nothing to be aggressive about. I'm very protective of my family and protective of my close friends. And so, or I might, you watch the TV and you get fired up about something, something grinds your gears. But 99% of the time, I'm a very laid back. I'm happy to see everyone, because it's so much more fun being happy, so much more fun being positive. It's exhausting being negative. It's exhausting being miserable and looking for what went wrong and everything like that. My life is amazing. I've got the best people around me. I've got the best family. If anyone follows the show, I do not shut up about my wife. So I'm in a very, very happy marriage. The arm wrestling community is probably the best community I've been a part of in all sports that I've either participated or been involved in. So yeah, there's no acting. There's no acting. And I think that's what has been a catalyst for what I do. People watch and they're like, this guy doesn't take himself seriously. He loves having a laugh. I can get behind this guy. I'm gonna invest my time in the Aussie Arm Wrestler.
And so, what's on the horizon? So now, are there any other big events, or you're looking at going overseas now, or like what can we expect from the Aussie Arm Wrestler in the next 6 months?
In the next 6 months, fingers crossed, a King of the Table
3.
event. Hopefully, Matt. Hopefully. Oh, what are we up to now? King of the Table 4. Hopefully, King of the Table 4. I'm still waiting for the phone call, and I'm keeping my eye on what's required to go to Dubai and things like that. I haven't been given the phone call or anything because they've only announced one match for King of the Table 4. There's only one match. So they're going to announce matches before they do it. I know I'm not the first pick, but I want to make it like I'm not the first pick when it comes to the commentator or the MC, but I want to make it very difficult for you not to pick me. And then that means I've done my job. Or they sit there and it's like, okay, this person can't make it. Well, then we have to get the Aussie Arm Wrestler. So at this stage, I want to try and get to as many Australian state titles as I can get to. I've got a project getting announced in the next 36 hours with Arm Wars, which is going to be amazing. I'm a part of their Search for a Savage, which is going to be amazing. If you haven't heard what's going on there, they're basically doing American Idol for arm wrestlers. So we're looking for a talent. We're looking for a talent. Send us 3 of your matches, edited well. Show us that you have exciting matches. And send us a 60-second promo. Tell us why I should be watching you over any other. There's millions of good arm wrestlers, but why should I be watching you? And so
we're wearing clothes or not?
Well, that's what I mean. You gotta find your niche. So if you want to start sending nudie rudies, we'll see how that part gets. So then from there, we'll get a whole heap of videos. I'll be with Neil Pickup, James Statham, the Arm Wars director, Uncle John, and myself. We'll go through the videos. We'll decide on a top 10. Obviously, all final decisions going through Neil Pickup. Neil Pickup, it's his thing. I'm just happy to be involved. But then when they get to a final 10, then Uncle John and we put them through the ringer. Right. This week, you're going on, contestants 1 and 2. You're going on Uncle John's show. We're going to push you in the deep end. See if you can swim. Later on in the week, you're coming on my show. Right. Let's see if you can handle it. Let's go. And, we'll see if I can dominate people with the talking. We'll see if anyone chimes in. We'll see if anyone can impress. And then we get the public to vote. So we'll do polls during the live streams. We'll get everyone who watches it a bit later to vote. We'll take all the comment section. So during the live stream, I noticed in the live chat, I reckon at least 70% were Dave Stockbridge over Matt Connolly. So everyone wants to see him. Okay.
That's about the right numbers as well.
Yeah. Probably more. I would have gone 90-10, but hey, I don't want to cause a divide between you two.
I don't want to sound arrogant.
Crushing my dreams. Yeah.
And then, just becomes, we'll ring. All right, Dave, you won. You're on to the next round. We'll be in contact. And then the winner gets a trip. I don't think they get a trip. They just get an opportunity for a match at Arm Wars.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
You could just be pulling at your local event with 8 people, and by September, you could be having a match at Arm Wars.
Will you ever put the most electrifying trophy in all of sports entertainment up for grabs at all?
Well, let me just have a look. I was always wondering, where did it go if you were going to bring...
Oh!
This bad boy is always with me. The most loved trophy in the arm wrestling world. It took you 1 hour and 10 bloody long minutes.
Hey, I was trying to slip it in there somewhere.
Yeah, I genuinely, this thing is a character of its own. Now, the origin of the trophy came when I was having my first podcast, and I'm a larrikin, and I think something's funny. Like, I like to think, you outside the square or a bit to the left. So when I'm interviewing champions of the sport, never are the questions, how did you get into it? What's your favorite exercise that you like to do?
Where do you go from here?
Yeah, so then I was like, yeah.
For instance.
So then I was like, how funny would it be? You know, I'm having multiple world champions, multiple national champions, TV superstars. And I was like, how funny would it be if I just show them my amateur 3rd place trophy? So I didn't even win the tournament. And yeah, I did my first episode and I was like, that's cool, man. Like, you might have won 6 national titles. You haven't got yourself one of these. This is the trophy. And
that's the most coveted trophy in arm wrestling.
In all of arm wrestling. Yeah.
The legacy. I reckon I get 10 to 15 messages a week challenging me. One person in the States offered me flights and $5,000 because
I think this trophy needs an NFT.
Wow, he's frozen. We lost him.
I don't actually think so. I think he's just so focused on the trophy at this point.
The trophy's taken over.
Yeah. It's drawn his attention so strongly that he's unable to break from its gaze.
Wow.
He's gazing at it.
There we go. Are we back? We've got
what happened there? Bloody hell.
Oh, you froze. The trophy took over.
Electrifying that it appeared
the internet couldn't
somehow electrostatic. I don't know. Some
I think we're in the fourth
paranormal
dimension
activity when you start talking passionately about this trophy.
That's what I mean, and yeah, so it's massive. So
$5,000 is the highest price that's been offered to take it off your hands so far over the table. What would it take? What would it take, Jake Ward, monetarily for you to take that challenge seriously? Are we talking? Is it $100,000? Is it $500,000? Is it $1 million? If somebody seriously wants to try and take that trophy off your mantle, what would it take for you to sign a contract?
There's probably two things. One, I would take $50,000 if I thought I had a shot. If I thought I could
$50,000 if you thought you had a shot. Okay.
If I thought I could win. See, what happens is people.
So if your weight category, $50,000.
Yeah, but that's not one of your top tiers because people watch the show and they see.
So they can't be any good, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're like Monster Michael Todd's
rich, but a terrible arm wrestler.
Yeah,
$50,000, but they got to be shit. Okay, yeah.
Basically, yeah, because then it's like, cool, like $50,000 and I can put the title up again. So, because people have seen John Brasink, Monster Michael Todd, Toddzilla all say that they're coming for the trophy. Now, my guessing, my psychological guessing would be a lot of the pullers might not win at their events, and a lot of the pullers might not ever finish top 3 in a nationals or something like this. So this is a big trophy that they might be able to win. So, if they have this big match and they pin the Aussie ArmWrestler on the left, which is impossible to do, I'm unstoppable, then they're like, then they've got the trophy on their show and things like that. But if someone literally put $150,000 up, I'd sign.
Okay, 150. Well, Matt.
Oh yeah, well I'll get my checkbook. Yeah? Probably would beat me on my left. My left is terrible.
Because the investment of a free entry into the tournament, I'll finish third. It's cost me $0 to have, and then to get 150,000% return on it. That sets myself, my wife, my daughter up. That would give me that would give us probably another 5 years of doing this full time financially. I'd be mad not to.
Well, I'd say Neil Pickup's got the format. I think it's just a matter of finding the right athletes. And I think we've got an idea here. I think somebody out there's got to be some Saudi prince who fancies himself on his left hand, who's been carefully watching the Aussie arm wrestler,
waiting for his opportunity,
waiting in the shadows, not quite keen enough yet to jump in the super chat, but who's got his eyes on the prize, so to speak, and has the money to back it up. So, if that guy's watching the Daily Combat podcast today, I'd say he should reach out because we can set this up.
Yeah.
And I think if you do it, it needs to be on top of a building. Maybe the tallest building in the world. You know that helipad that's on the top that they made into a tennis court for Federer? I think that's where that needs to be. $150,000 on the table at the what do they call that? The Burj, the tallest building. The Burj.
That one.
And on top, on the helipad, table, 2 men, one ref.
Only one leaves.
And
one leaves, the other one has to jump off.
Yeah.
It's not $150 on the table. The $150,000 is what I will pocket. It's not a matter of if you win, you get to keep the money. No, I just need that $150,000.
No, that's $150 for the that's the entry price for
that's
whoever
right.
wants to. That's the challenger price. That's the challenger fee. So they're stumping up their 150, win, lose or draw. There's nothing in it for them but the trophy. But that 75 to 125 grams of plastic and veneer. That's it. That's the price.
This is
wow.
150 carat.
It gets
gold.
bigger every time.
It's but then I always joke about this, and the arm wrestling world love it. We all have a bit of fun with it. But then I sat there and I go, because there's a lot of rich people out there. There's a lot of people that can just do it, and they're like, what?
Trophy hunters,
or they're just like 150 grand. That's pocket money to me. But then, could you imagine if I won and I got to keep it? It's like, yes, it would be like the best thing ever. There's 150,000 wide to my account, and I'm coming home with a trophy. That would probably be a 10 million view video, but.
Yeah, it is hard to win matches in arm wrestling. So it is actually legitimately quite a good achievement to get a trophy in arm wrestling. I've gone 0-8 in my tournament career.
It continues to persist.
Yeah, that's right.
Calls himself an arm wrestler.
Yeah. Really good at the sport.
I've retired from tournaments. I don't tournament pull anymore. So I don't tournament pull. I only do super matches when I can at this stage.
Giving everyone else a chance.
Yeah. Well, and I get all the time. I'll look on the internet. I'm just looking at this trophy. I just can't believe how many stories come from it. There'll be a poster and it's like this weekend in bloody Arizona or this weekend in Cardiff, Wales. There'll be a tournament, and I'll sit there and I'll have a look, and I'll be like, yeah, cool. And then a little smirk comes on my face, and I'll be like, just wait, bang. At least one competitor from those events, and I get it all the time. One competitor from those events who finished third, send me a photo with their trophy. I am making third place be cool.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Instead of going I finished third, I shouldn't have lost the final. I'll get slid in my DMs as hey, you think your trophy's cool? I finished third as well. And I'm like, that's
second, and then Jake Ward.
Yeah,
that's right.
No longer known as bronze.
Yeah, it's no third place anymore. It's just became Jake Ward in the tournament.
Yeah.
Mate, if we can rename it, that's what will happen if arm wrestling ever got into the Olympics. They'd be like, oh, this person's won gold and silver, and this one's won the Jake Ward medal. It's amazing.
It's a replica of your trophy.
But it's just more of
the
a
Jake Ward award for best of the rest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
we
best of
could
the
see
bad
you were
bunch
trying.
award.
Yes.
The best of the bad bunch award. Absolutely.
May third place never be forgotten again.
How are you? How are you as a competitive arm wrestler?
Rubbish.
Rubbish.
I'm terrible. No, I think I'm a super match puller. I'm not a tournament puller. And these days, having 18 months off sent me right back. But my body's cooked. So at least with a super match, I might be able to get some late pins because I've got I haven't got great endurance, but I've got a little bit endurance. So if I can hold someone, I am almost like in a super match format. I am almost like the Simpsons episode where Homer's a boxer. Like, just punch me until you're tired. And then when you're tired, I'm able to read and I'll just bring you over to I'll fall over to my side of the table. That's it. That's how my pulling style. Like, I struggle to pull pork these days. So it's not even, I enjoy competing. I come from a competitive background. I've competed all my life. So I'll continue to do it, but I just have to be careful the matches I take. I just have to be careful because I don't want to go into the realm. So I started pulling tournaments and I was getting smoked because by the time I got to the table, I was too exhausted from commentating all day.
Yeah.
So then what happens is, of course, when you have a small name like I do, that footage gets posted everywhere. And it's like, oh, I just smoked the Aussie ArmWrestler, which is cool. I don't mind losing. I've got no problem with that. But then
Prefer to come third.
Prefer to win a couple and then lose. But then it becomes to the realm of almost getting advice from a fat personal trainer. You don't really take, as Matt Nodsy said with his double biceps, you get it. So here I am getting flogged in every single tournament I go to. I'm getting flash pinned, taking the hand easy. I'm not even strong. And then yet I'm going to go on the channel and tell you who's going to win and you know what this person should, like, during a live commentary, and say, oh, Dave Chavey, man, you just got to post back and do that. They're like, well, we're not going to take you seriously. You're getting smoked at every tournament. People with spaghetti arms.
Exactly the same thing. Yeah, I felt exactly the same thing.
So it's like I go to the gym and then this fat guy's got to try and tell you, Matt, how to lift weights or stick to a diet. No. Yeah. So that was the decision to stop tournament pulling. If I'm not commentating the event, then I'll
to maintain your credibility as an arm wrestler, you had to stop arm wrestling.
Yeah, and you've nailed it, Dave. And you've nailed it. And I'll tell you why you have nailed it. 100%. In the 2 years, and I always have a laugh with people that come on the show and when I try and give advice on how to build your brand or help with your YouTube channel. I am the Aussie Arm Wrestler. I've been doing this for a couple of years, full-time, 3 months. Now, go back. If you look at all the greats that are on the YouTube channels, all the arm wrestlers or the arm wrestling channels, right? Go back, see how many matches they've had, and then go back and see how many matches I've had. You can't count them with both hands. You know what I mean? Like, I've had hardly any matches, and yet I've been able to build this brand without relying on being an elite athlete.
Yes.
So like,
man, I say that all the time. Yeah. It's like you don't have to be the best in the world to be able to make videos about something that you enjoy or that you're passionate about. I think people have this feeling like, oh, people aren't going to listen to me or they're not going to respect my opinion or my thoughts on something unless I'm a world champion or unless I'm at the absolute pinnacle. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, people, if you're interesting and if you're charismatic and you present something well, people will watch it regardless as to whether you do it or not. It's like, you know, you could have never swum in your life, but you could be really into it and present it well, and people will still watch your content. It shouldn't hold people back from being, oh, I need to have set myself at this point. Once I reach that, then people will respect my opinion. It's like, you don't need to have that.
No. Yeah, it's that coach dynamic as well. You know, there's some people that are great at coaching. They understand how to take knowledge and technique and instill it into another human being, and that's their gift. That's what they're great at. And similarly with you, Jake, you know, you can identify all of the nuances and understand exactly what's going on and find a really unique way of communicating that's thoroughly entertaining, and that's your gift. So I'm not sure what Matt's gift is.
We're still looking for it.
We're working on that.
Two biceps. That's what Matt's gift is. 2 biceps.
It's contained within the split of his left bicep.
Yeah, but I'm huge on that. And sometimes when people come to me and they say,
He's not looking.
"Hey, that's a gift. Mine look like arms, but only smaller." Yeah. And people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm looking to start a YouTube channel. I'm looking to do this. I'm looking to do that. And if you're scared, don't do it. Don't do it. I haven't got time for you if you are scared to do it. If you are so scared of putting out a video and getting 3 views, then don't. Then you're not made for YouTube. You're not made for the social media presence. And then have fun being a lower tier athlete. Because anyone, if you want to pull on the big stages, in an arm wars, on a king of the table, you need a social media presence. And I tell people all the time, Google how many people have died from starting a YouTube channel and no one watched it. No one died. So just go out and do it. And you win either way because, one, people watch it. It's fantastic. Of course, it's amazing when you look at your phone and 15,000 people have watched your video. Of course, it feeds endorphins throughout your body. But if no one watches it, you have just sat there for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 2.5 hours and talked about a sport that you love. And you've got that out of your system. And especially when it comes to arm wrestling. When I catch up with my mates and have a beer and have a feed, we're not talking arm wrestling. They'll ask how the channel's going, but they've got no idea about it. So when I do my videos and jump on podcasts or do my own podcast, it's an awesome relief for me because it's like, yes, I have found more lunatics like me that love it. So anyone that does start a YouTube channel, the stress relief you will get plonking yourself out of a camera and going, hi, I'm Joe so-and-so, and here are my tips for East versus West 3. And the stress relief of getting it out there and just go, right, I've told someone. Like I had a guy message me like literally probably an hour before the show. A guy that watches the show, he goes, I've got no mates that like arm wrestling. Can I send you my predictions for East versus West 3? And I was like, send them through.
No.
No,
yeah.
No, you're not
Get out of here.
You're not my friend.
Yeah.
Stop
I
messaging.
blocked
How do you
him.
get this
I said,
number?
how dare you? I said, do you know who I am? How dare
Who
you?
I am?
You know
How
who I
dare you
am.
message me? Yeah, blocked him. I even called the police. I was like, hello, 000. You wouldn't believe it. This guy thought he could message me. Even though it's you know who I am. Do I have to go arrest you?
It is so, and like you said, you put something out there and no one watches, it doesn't matter. Like you did something, and by doing that and doing podcasts and doing, if no one's watching, that is your practice. Like you said, your commentary on Over the Top was an audition, and in so many aspects it was. I mean, you were there for that day and you performed, as I said, 10 out of 10, but it was like all the people that filmed moments of that and the pay-per-view, that all adds to your repertoire of like moments where somebody might see that, And then when you go to the next live event and you're calling that, you've got that experience. And so for somebody to go, oh, I'm not going to start unless I'm going to be super successful straight away, you're not going to be. You need to build up to the point where it's like anything. It's like going to the gym for the first time. You've never lifted the weights before. You've got to learn how to do it. You're not going to be able to go straight into the gym and bench press, 200 kilos just off the bat. Like, it takes a long time, a lot of hard work, discipline in any industry if you want to get good at it. And moments like with YouTube and with this stuff that's free, like, doesn't cost you anything. Point your phone at yourself, press record, talk about something, put it online. Next time you'll be better at it. Next time you'll be better at it. And you keep continuing to improve. And then you get to a point where maybe somebody says, hey, I like your stuff here. I'd like to sponsor your channel or something. But you get these opportunities you wouldn't have had if you hadn't done all that work to start with.
With you obviously going full time now, are there people that you watch or channels that you look to or templates that you've been trying to follow that you can see have been successful for others that have served you really well?
Funny enough,
doesn't watch anyone.
I don't watch much. I really don't, because I don't have enough time. So basically, I do research. Sometimes I watch YouTubers that aren't arm wrestlers because I feel
and that's kind of what I meant. Who are you keeping an eye on to understand what's a good mix of content, what to do?
Yeah, well, I watch a lot of wrestling YouTube channels because they throw in a bit of comedy, and I like the style, the way they do it. I'm like, oh, I could use that. I'm a huge Mr. Beast fan. I think I love, because he's mixes everything that I love, whether it's helping people, playing games, doing like game shows, outlandish challenges, which I've been fortunate enough to do my whole life. Yeah, so he's just got a nice mix and he's able to make it work. So I maybe watch half an hour to 40 minutes of YouTube. So I've got to be particular. So I go through all my arm wrestling channels to see if there's anything I need to make a video about. I'm very fortunate enough. I'm in a arm wrestling YouTubers group, and we all go, hey, I just used this sort of thumbnail and it's spiked my views by 15%. Maybe look at doing it that way. And we help each other. Share a
bit of intel.
Yeah, because there's a group of us, because we're in such a niche sport. We believe that we all benefit if we all grow together. So there's stages where, someone could help me out, and then I've superseded them in numbers. But of course, I still want to help them out, and now they've superseded me, and we can just go back and forth. And I just think it's better. It doesn't do any damages to our channel. I'm a huge believer in karma. So if you're just helping people because you want to help people, well, it's going to come back in droves. Not a problem. And that's what happens here in the arm wrestling world. So I keep an eye on some things, but then if someone, and I check the tone of people as well. So if I'm at the gym and Matt comes over and he's like, oh man, you should just, maybe do hammer curls instead of bicep curls, and then walks off and doesn't say anything, I'm like, cool, man, whatever. But if Matt comes over and he's like, right, I've been watching this, and if you actually change the angle of your wrist when you're doing the hammer curls, this is going to work on the outside and it's going to grow the thickness of your bicep and that, then I'll go, right, I'm going to change the way I do bicep curls. Because you get advice. Everyone is a coach, and everyone is, can tell you what you need to do because they don't want to do it themselves. You need to do this with your channel, and you need to do that, and you should be doing this and things like that. So unless they've got conviction in what they're saying, passion in what they're telling me, there's not many that I pick to. So, and because I probably need to do more research because I'm so focused on making this happen. I've been given the all clear to do it. So I'm always about like making sure I'm making good content, putting it out there to hopefully make a few people happy that watch it.
Absolutely.
You did mention the wrestling earlier. This is one of the ones I wanted to bring up quickly. Did you know that Jake actually had a wrestling career prior?
I did not know that, but so this is this an exclusive? Is this a David
Well, I
Combat
don't know.
exclusive?
I think
No.
you might have spoken about it briefly on some lives, but I'd love to hear the story again.
I love pro wrestling. I love it. Growing up, Hulk Hogan was everything to me. If my mum wanted me to do anything or eat anything, it was Hulk Hogan eats his veggies. Hulk Hogan keeps his room clean. Wow. I didn't really understand, genetics and performance enhancing and, spending 4 hours at the gym on the daily. But if I ate my broccoli or my cabbage,
boom.
So then once again, my whole
Pythons.
life, I'm big on because I talk a lot. As you guys can tell, I talk way too much.
Thank God. There'd be a lot of dead air on this podcast.
Because I like to back up everything that I say. So I remember had a basketball career, went over to England, came back, and I was like, right, I don't want to play basketball anymore. I'm done with that. I always wanted to be a wrestler. So straight on to the computer. Where's a wrestling school? Oh, awesome. There's one 25 minutes up the road. Yep, I can come tonight? Awesome. I'll see you there. Bang. And then just went to training, and I'm like, well, I'm giving it a go until I don't want to do it anymore. And yeah, so just went to training, and, you learn your first move, and you're just picturing your 8-year-old self, on the couch watching the VHS, and you really wanted to do it. And I was like,
jumping off the coffee table.
Yeah,
onto the pillows, onto the cushions,
onto your sister,
onto the dog.
Yeah. But the beauty of this, it was in a controlled environment, so no one's parent was coming to tell you to get off the coffee table or give your brother his teddy bear back because you've just got it in a full Nelson or something like that, or a big body slam. And then and so trained for a bit, and the company that I was at, they were like, "You're ready for your first match?" And I thought, we are on here. This is amazing.
WrestleMania, here we come.
I was on. I had my honeymoon at WrestleMania. That's how obsessed I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine was at the UFC.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. And so, so I did wrestling. I did it for about 4 years, and it was a really dark time of Australian wrestling. It's not like booming like it is now. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Like, I once wrestled in front of 6 people at an event. 6 people.
Now you know how we feel on this podcast.
A promoter came from Adelaide, and he's like, I want to run an event here. I'm going to bring some guys over. Can I get you on the show? Yeah, man, absolutely. I love wrestling. I play footy during the day. I said, just let me know. I won't be there the same time as everyone else, but I'll come straight after footy. No worries. And, when just before the event starts, everyone's like, oh, what's the line like? And there was no one in the line. 6 people had bought a ticket to a show. And, I said to my guy, I said, look, I'm still going to have the match. Do you still want to have the match? Let's just go out there. Who cares? I'm here. Saturday night, I'm missing a friend's birthday party. I've come to wrestle. And, I'm dropping elbows and pretending I'm a bad guy. It was the best, man. It was some of the best fun I've ever had.
What was the wrestling name again? I know what it is, but I just want to hear you say it.
Yeah, the wrestling name, it was Jermaine Boom, which is
Jermaine Boom?
A very, very obscure, different name that come across.
The Jermaine?
Yeah.
Was that a Flight of the Conchords reference?
Or the Jackson 5?
Jackson 5?
I don't know where the name came from. I knew back then. How old was I? 22-year-old Jake, around there. 22 to 25-year-old Jake was like,
he was a young man who's
I wanted
pro wrestling dreams.
I'll chase any dreams. Like, I wanted the letter J because my name was Jake, but I didn't want to use my name. And I was like, what's a cool J name? And for some reason, I thought Jermaine. Like I thought
Jermaine?
I thought that was a cool name. No one else had that name. No one,
Okay,
and I know
reason.
why, because it's a terrible name.
What
And
sort
then,
of what sort of man was Jermaine Boom?
What was the character?
He
Cowboy
was a bad
hats,
guy.
or-
He was a bad guy that was in love with himself. It was amazing. I've had beer poured on me. I've had people wait for me in the car park to beat me up. So, like, a lot of my shtick was, I would genuinely believe, I would make you genuinely believe, like, even with me, I was a bit in better shape there because my body wasn't cooked, you know, that I was peak physical condition when I clearly wasn't, but I would make you believe. So I was very narcissistic and it was all about me. And I hated everyone that was in there. Like I hated you all. So like when I'm walking around, my favorite bit wasn't even when during the match. My favorite bit was walking the entrance and, you know, say, Matt, you and your beautiful wife there. I would purposely pick out people in better shape than me. And Matt would be there. And of course I'd look at his beautiful wife and I'd be like, you know, why don't you come be with a real man? You know, why don't you come be with a real man like that? Why, come on, baby. I know you want to plan one on here. And things like that. And sometimes like you could see the men fuming. And then when the women would stand up to kiss me, you could see the blood boiling on the men. And as they would, and some of my like old school values coming. So when the woman would come to kiss me, I just turn and go, you're not even my type. And I just walk off. So then I wanted everyone, I wanted every single person to not like me. I would sit there and like one of my main things that I do is I drop a body slam and then I'd point to the crowd and I'm like, this is for each and every one of you scumbags. And I'd slick my hair back and then drop an elbow. The crowd would lose it.
What sort of clothes did Jermaine Boom wear?
Oh, rubbish ones. I didn't know how to. I originally started off with a black singlet and jean shorts and just some Nikes or something. And then I had almost like they're upstairs. I've still got them. And then I was like,
so for a super chat, the right money, we could
$150,000 on top of the building. Cage match, Jermaine Boom versus Stone Cold.
But then, so then once again, just like studying everything, I'm like, okay, everyone's wearing black. How do I stand out? Well, I'll wear red. So I wore a red singlet, and then I had these special shorts made up. They went probably just to above the knee, and had my wrestling boots. I still got them all. So I was like red because everyone was wearing black. I don't know why. It's still a thing now. It's like, just change colors, guys. It's okay. So, so I wore that. And it was just some of the best fun. I got to pretend to be tough. I got to abuse people and get away with it. You know, people be screaming at me.
They say pro wrestling isn't real, but tell that to the guys that were trying to beat the shit out of you in the car park afterwards.
Well, two funny stories how it is 100% real. So one, I used to go through a phase where I used to get like fake. So if I'm over in Adelaide, I'd just look up an Adelaide hotel. I stole this gimmick off a guy in America. And I'd look up an Adelaide hotel. Cool. And I would just make a shoddy rendition of a hotel key for that hotel. So then I would go up to your wife, Dave. And I'd be like, hey, room 402. I'll see you there after the show. And that's how I almost got into a fight. You mother effer and things like that. And he's launched a beer bottle at me. And of course, I'm surrounded by 6'5" blokes taking steroids, who go to the gym all day because they were really chasing their wrestling dream. I was just filling out. Like, I never wanted to go to WrestleMania. So, that was interesting. But then the scariest moment, I was actually in my hometown. I was near Melbourne, and I had a match. And this big guy, he dropped me. He overthrew me. We did a move, and he overthrew me. And I landed flush on my neck and basically felt like I'd snapped in half. So I was lying there, and he went to get me, and then I just screamed, "Don't effing touch me! I can't move." And so what felt like an eternity, I said, "Roll me." I just said to him, "Roll me out the effing ring now." So he rolls me out, and I fall down, limp, and I'm just lying there. And what would have been all of maybe 45 seconds felt like an eternity to me. And what we call it in our industry is a stinger. So what had happened was I was momentarily paralyzed and I couldn't feel anything. And I was freaking out. I sweat profusely normally. I've never sweated so much. I was sopping wet. And yeah, they all come over. And then I remember almost crying because I remember wiggling my toes. And I was like, is this a dream? And then it all slowly came back to the body. And someone came out and I said, just leave me here. You guys finish the match. And that was probably my third last match. It was just, for me, it was just too much to risk.
Yeah, it's happened to some of the best guys. I mean, that's why they stopped doing the pile driver stuff, and know, certain people just got absolutely wiped out by that. Career-ending injuries, and it was even Stone Cold. Had the same thing. Was you can see that match on YouTube. He and he's laying there paralyzed. And he's talking to the other wrestler. I can't remember who it was. Hitman, I think. Anyway, and he's saying, I can't move.
It was
that would be a scary moment.
97 against Owen Hart. That's
Hart. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But so it was like I was enjoying it, but then like other things were happening in my life and wrestling. I'm like, I'm sick of, like, there were stages where I'd wrestle in front of like 800 people, and that was great. But then, like with most things, politics, and then suddenly I'm wrestling in front of 20 people, and, you know, I'm 25, 26 years old, and my relationship at the time was failing, and, you know, something's got to give. I'm playing footy, then going to wrestling. I'm training 4 nights a week, and then trying to fit in the gym and be a good boyfriend. Something got to give. And it was, at first it was wrestling, and then I was so angry that it was wrestling. It was then the girlfriend. Because in dark times of my life, wrestling was always there. Whether something horrific had happened in my life, or you're just going through a really rough patch, I could chuck on wrestling and momentarily give my brain a relief and forget about what was going on. And so then when someone actually made me choose them over that, I was ropeable with myself for allowing that. And I was like, yeah, you just need someone that just embraces you. Hence why I fell in love on my first date and was in a mad rush to marry the woman that I've married now, because anything, you know, she let me have the honeymoon at WrestleMania. So
that's true love.
Yeah.
Did she get into the wrestling at all? Has she sort of become a fan?
My wife.
Oh, I'm gonna hear your face like that. That's so
good. She's so awesome. She doesn't.
She pretends to like.
She's not into wrestling. She's not into arm wrestling. But my wife will get involved because I love it so much. So, like. Wow. My first super match, another fun story. My very first super match, Arnold's 2019. I'm up and about. I got there on the Friday. I was the last match on the Sunday. I didn't leave. Was filming, was watching and everything. So Jess comes on the Sunday. We're going to watch. She's going to watch her maybe boyfriend. I don't even know if we're married. Anyway, come to support me because she's amazing. She's going to spend all day at this arm wrestling convention, at Arnold's. So, you know, everyone there. And it got to 15 minutes before the women's division. And there's a young girl here named Celine who helps run Victorian Arm Wrestling and a very good ambassador for women's sport. Came over and introduced herself, and she's like, "Oh my God, Jess is amazing, rah rah." And then my mind went ticking. And I said to Celine, I said, how many people are in the under 65 kilo division that she was pulling in? She goes, oh, there's only 2 of us. Well, at Arnold's, they give out a gold, silver, and bronze medallion. So I was giving the nudge to Jess, and I was like, well, if you compete, you'll get 2 medals before I've even had a match. You'll be the third best puller in the Oceanic region at under 69, under 65 kilos. And Celine was awesome, looked after her. But yeah, so Jess doesn't like arm wrestling, but because I love it so much, she was like, okay, I trust Jake. I'm not going to get hurt. You know, he's not going to put me in danger. And my wife jumped on the table, went 0-4, and just over there are 2 bronze medals, Arnold's trophies before I even had my first match.
And as we know, bronze is God's placing. So just wonderful.
There you go.
So we just do everything here. Everything is third place. So I'm sure I'm Jess's third favorite person. I'm probably yeah. Everything is just third here. Ironically, because our favorite number is 3, and then we've both won like third place stuff. But yeah, she doesn't like if I'll sit there and go, oh my God, so-and-so is going to come on the show, Jess will get excited for me, has zero idea who I'm talking about. But yeah,
beautiful.
She's come on the podcast.
Yeah, the bubble bath guy, yeah.
Yeah. Especially in the early days, now that I've been lucky enough to be accepted. But even in the early days, I'd be like, she goes, you can't sleep. And I'm like, yeah, it's because Jeff Hale's agreed to come on the show, babe. Oh, this is amazing. And then Jess will sit up and she'll be like, oh, that's so cool. Like, no idea. I could have said it. Yeah, you know, I've got David Connolly, Hollywood Matt Stockbridge coming on the show. You know, I could mix anyone's names up. But her being awesome would just be like, yeah, that's so cool. Congratulations. I hope it's a great show. When is it? And then I'd stop after 2 minutes because I'm like, yeah, you go. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being a supportive partner.
Can we look forward to any more 24-hour telethons? Are they not quite marathons?
Telethon.
But yeah, can we make it a telethon?
Let's do that.
Can we do a 24-hour podcast? So for a sponsor, can we do something like that? So
on top of a building,
will there be any more 24-hour live streams?
On top of
a tall building.
I don't know about top of a tall building. There will definitely be more 24-hour podcasts, whether it's an annual thing or if I want to help someone out and, you know, it's like, I'll go 24 hours and let's raise money for Matt Connolly to pull Larry Wheels in Dubai. You know, if I firmly believe in something, I will do it.
That's happening.
Yeah.
It's next week.
Well, I just won't get off the computer then. So it's when that came about, I literally decided on the Tuesday to do it on the Friday. I just turned to my wife and said, I'm going to do a 24-hour podcast. And she's like, what do you mean? So I'm going to sit in this chair for 24 hours. I'm going to call the action. And she's like, okay, let me know how I can help. And told everyone, said, come meet me here Friday night. I'm going for 24 hours. I ended up going for like 24 and a half hours. I will do more. It is taxing. It was afterwards. The recovery was a lot harder than what I thought it was. I thought plonking myself in a chair, talking about arm wrestling doesn't get much easier than this. And that was... It went in waves. Sometimes were real easy. Sometimes the start was difficult. The start, I thought, not because I was starting. I put that it was an open call. You could be anyone and you could come on the show. And I said, my first guest is going to be my wife. There's the link for the call in. Once we hit 15 minutes, anyone can jump on. So anyway, I do the 15 minutes with Jess. And we rock it. We absolutely rock it. Yeah, I'm talking about you. She's just popped in. The cheeky one. She's not camera ready, so she won't jump on. But she always jumps on.
That's the third place finisher for the under 65 women's you're talking to?
Yeah, both arms. Both arms.
Wow.
So Yeah, so we do the 15 minutes, and because we start at like 9 o'clock at night. Jess goes, "I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you in the morning." Yep, no worries. And then from the next, I couldn't tell you the time.
So you were up all day, starting at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Or had you slept during the day?
I hadn't. Well, tangent, another story. One of my pet hates, Dave. I am a rubbish handyman. Rubbish. Watching the block is torture to me. Can't stand it. So I try and have a nap. Got this big show. My wife, being the best person in the world, rushes to Office Works and goes, wanting to surprise me. We get back and she goes, "I've got this computer desk for you. You can plop your laptop there. You can put your drinks and your food and your snacks. It's going to be awesome."
Just got to build it.
We've got to build it. We've got to build it. So I am sitting there, and I believe we were pregnant. I think we were pregnant at the time, just trying to get confirmation. We're there in my laundry 45 minutes before this 24-hour podcast starts, and I am seething. I am seething. Because I'm like, I've got to build it because I don't want my wife to build it, even though she enjoys doing it. Like let's work together, and it's a flat pack and bolt and everything there. And this is what
hearing this.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to be doing this 45 minutes. I want to make sure I've got some notes, some things to fill in, some dead air if there's any. And so I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. So then we sit in the chair. We call the first 15 minutes of the show. And then I think it was about an hour to an hour and a half. No one came on. And I was like, I'm there and I'm like, oh, we got to talk about this and we're going to go talk about this. And I'm like, am I really going to be by myself for 24 hours? And it was probably the only, I don't worry much, but I think that was the only time I've ever worried about what I do. Because I was like, you don't want to be that guy that says, I'm going to do the 24-hour podcast and 6 hours in, you pull the pin. So I was like, that's fine. You've been on big, massive journeys before. Snap out of it. Let's go. Just talk. You'll be fine. Talk about how no one's coming on the show. Like, you'll make it work. The ones I snapped out of it, I got about to an hour and a half in. My first guest come on, and then we were rocking and rolling. And
who was your first guest? Was it a planned guest, or was it one of those people that just jumped on?
No. So the first person, once again, someone who's just been a huge flag bearer for everything that I do, is Ryan Bowen. He was the first one. Mm-hmm. So it got to about 10:30 at night, and he was watching in bed, and he's like, I think he said something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, he's really going for it. He's been going solid. I've got to help my mate out. Ryan and I, we're not YouTube buddies. We're friends. I hosted his wedding. We actually connected not through arm wrestling. I reached out to him about a totally different thing.
You don't have to get into all the details. It might
no. And we just developed an amazing friendship. Yep. So he was the first one on, and then you bloody jerks. And then
there was candles. There was scented music.
Developed
there were towels.
Yes,
there was a ceramic mixing table in the middle.
No details required.
There was swaying. So then he was the first guest, and it just went gangbusters from there. Everyone was awesome. But once again, it wasn't just about doing a 24-hour podcast. I had other motives, and I hit my motives. I hit my goals, which I wanted. Basically, one goal was to show the arm wrestling world that it doesn't change over a 24-hour period. I believe, and I could be wrong, I haven't watched too much of the footage, but I believe the energy I was bringing in hour 1 was the same energy I was bringing at hour 24. And I wanted to show people that I wasn't this 15 minutes, ready, bang, here we go, you big dick, rah, rah. It was, this is how I am, this is what I do. And the second thing I wanted to show everyone was that I was the real deal. I wasn't a one-line
You can't hide for
catchphrase.
24 hours.
Yeah, I wasn't. I
Can't
can
fake
genuinely talk in depth about the sport. I can genuinely make you laugh and have a comedic side of it. But I just wanted to show everyone that I can go. I want to show everyone I'm here. I'm here for the long haul. I can go, and you know, stick with me, stay with me, and your time will be very well invested in the Aussie Arm Wrestler.
I did jump into that stream probably, I don't know, 10 times over the 24 hours. I didn't realize that you'd put out a link that you could actually join, because I saw at the times that I looked, it was probably, I don't know, 3 in the morning or something, and you had like 12 people sort of all in at the same time. There was a little Jake in the corner, and then there was like 12 other people all talking, and but yeah, you had a lot of people jump in. I think the only difference between the first hour and the last hour in terms of your energy was just that your voice was all scratchy.
yeah, I think the voice was scratchy. My eyes were probably baggy. You know, my wife was massaging my feet and bringing me meals off camera. I had a mate, like, he would send Uber Eats to me. So everyone was awesome, but, you know, it was wherever you sat, you know, on the totem pole. So, like, with the elites, they were like, yeah, okay, he's not just, he is in this sport, balls to the wall. He's in. He's with us. He's one of us. All right, we'll back him. You've won us over. For, you know, people at the bottom, it was a chance. I was putting it out there for a chance to get yourself over, because that's how that's what it did for me. So Gary Roberts from Arm TV was raising money for Derek Smith, and he did a New Year's Eve podcast. Now, that ended up being 22 hours or something, but they stayed live until they reached the monetary goal. And I was watching it, and I'm seeing these people jump on. And then I saw a few people jump on, and I was like, I am more entertaining than them. I am better than them. I was getting angry with my wife, and she's like, settle down.
Do you want to name names here, or this is just like some of the people?
There's a lot of them.
All of them.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
I'm the best.
Well, it was more, okay, you've invited them on, they're a name, I get it, you're talking. Oh, yeah, okay. And then you've invited them on? Like, really? And I kept checking my phone, and I was like getting angry with my wife. Why haven't they asked me to come on? So then, once again, don't wait for it. Go and create it. So I messaged Uncle John, who was the co-host at the time, and I said, mate, get me on. If you want to rest, get me on. I've got you. And he had watched what I'd done, and he was a fan of it, and we've once again developed this awesome relationship. So he goes, I'll send you the link. There you go. And I jumped on for 3 hours, nailed it, and was invited on to Arm TV every week ever since, until Gary stopped. It made me build relationships with other pullers, and they're like, oh, I want to be on this guy's show. Oh, this guy's, oh, thanks for getting all of us involved. And suddenly I've, you know, Monster Michael Todd would be on, but I'm making sure that this person that's a bit shy to speak gets their few questions in. And I'll once again, showing people I've got range, showing people I can go, showing people I'm not a one-trick pony. So then to my 24-hour one, people were coming on to support me, which was awesome, and come on and hopefully be on when one of the top-tier names were on. But I was also like, get your brand out there. Win some people over and go, oh, this guy's got a YouTube channel as well. Oh, I like him, and things like that. So I wanted to also provide an opportunity. And I think that's what drives me to do another one. So, like, I don't want people coming on and just constantly flogging what they do, but you guys being awesome podcast hosts and knowing your stuff, we just need a bigger platform to show it on. So if I do another 24-hour one, well, it's like, hey, I got these guys from the Daily Combat podcast. You got to check them out. And then we're going back and forth like we are now. And it's like, oh, I like the way they go about it. Yeah, okay. I'm a DCP fan. All right, rock on. And that's what a big like the 24-hour thing But and I would kick you off if you didn't contribute to the podcast. I'll kick you off. I don't got enough time. It takes away people's TV time, like you said, Matt.
Yeah.
If there's 12 screens and only 4 people are contributing, well, it looks better. There's only 4 screens, so I'd be like, you got to go. Or if someone was coming on, because I had my wife come at one stage, and I had this really drunk guy on, and the nerves got the better of him. He was a fan, and he didn't mean to come across the way he was. He was having too many, and he never thought that he'd be on with like Rob Vidget Jr. and things like that. And me being me was like, all right, hey, mate, what do you think of East versus West? And I would ask that person specifically, and he would answer. But then he was answering every question, being the first to answer every question, and he just got a bit of ahead of himself. So I kept watching the numbers, and I was like, if this guy's killing my numbers, then he's got to go. And my wife ran down, and she's standing behind the camera. And she's like, you got to get him off. You got to get him off. The chat's going nuts. Yeah, but I was watching the chat, and the numbers didn't drop, and the chat was going flat out. So I was like, I'll leave him on. And then, in the end, I had to get him off. I had to send him. I'm sending him off. I didn't want to be rude.
One other thing I wanted. Oh, sorry.
You can tell people that are being like idiots, but I could tell he was just a fan that got ahead of himself. So I messaged him privately. I said, man, you got to go. Just excuse yourself. Come back on later. And so he was awesome.
Nice.
There was one other thing I wanted to, before we sort of get to the end show, that I wanted to definitely cover, and that was your marathon run. Right, you did an enormous running trip from, where was it, the top of Australia to all the way down to Melbourne, or that it was for charity? You were raising money, or it was...
So I've done 3.
Were you recording a podcast at the same time?
Wow. Well, if I knew about podcasts and monetization and things like that, I would have. Well, I would have learned.
Things would have been different.
Well, it would have just been more money raised. So, like a quick example, I didn't realize that you needed 10,000 likes and particular watch time to get monetized on Facebook. Well, my charity page succeeded that, smashed it, because and I was getting branched out to 13, 14 different countries of people covering the run. And anytime I would put an update of the running, the views would skyrocket. So then if that made another $500, $2,000, $3,000 for the charity, beautiful. So if I knew what I knew now about the interwebs, it would have been much different. But so I did. What
was the inspiration behind it? The run? What triggered that? Yeah,
family. So I had, like most people, touched by cancer, and in this particular one, breast cancer. Had a beautiful cousin, Samantha, who passed away when she was 31, just shortly after giving birth to her son, and she passed away. And my auntie Vera on the other side of the family, just one of the most, both of them, just two of the most happiest, genuine, fun-loving people. I do get a little bit sad that my daughter will never meet them, or even my wife never got to meet them. Like, I love them. So then they passed away, and it was my mum. My mum started, my mum's my hero. She's tattooed on my arm. I have nothing but good things to say about her. She's a jet. So she started doing fundraising. We'd have a fun day. We'd do auctions and raffles and, your stock standard stuff. And Mum did that for a few years, and she was like, I'm getting tired. I can't do the fundraising anymore. She raised a few $1,000s. And and then I was just like, I can do something. I'm a big personality. I'm an idiot. Let's utilize this stupidity. Let's think big and let's go there. So I was playing local footy, and I wasn't fast, but people were like, man, you just don't stop running. You can just go. So I was like, okay, I've got something here. So my first run, I looked up marathons, and that was 42 Ks. And I was like, nah. Looked up at ultra marathons, and that was 100 Ks. So I was like, oh, I'll go a little bit better. So I did 110 Ks. And I did 110 Ks in just under 19 hours. Just went all day around the surrounding cities. And the support was unreal. I couldn't believe it. Mind blown. Whether it was strangers, whether it was friends and family, you know. So that was a huge success. So I thought, all right, let's go bigger. I'm going to go to the Sydney Opera House and I'm going to run home. So I live about 40 minutes southeast from Melbourne. And I'm like, I'm going to run home from the Sydney Opera House. 1,000 Ks, 16 days. Let's go. So after the 2014, the day after the 2014 AFL Grand Final, which I was there, flew up to the Sydney Opera House, and I'm trickling home. And that destroyed my body. Didn't know much about the body, didn't destroy it. But the help and support of strangers, the community, just anyone in general, for moments at a time, I could make you forget about things. You could be having a really bad day and people were looking forward to my Facebook updates, you know, and that was something that was pretty cool. So then I did the 1,000 Ks and I was going through a stage in my life because it'd been a couple of years and I was like, something's missing. I tried to move overseas. I lasted 6 days. Government did
6 days.
Yeah, tried to move to Canada.
It's not even a short holiday.
Mate, I was telling everyone at footy, I said, guys, I'm out of here. I played footy. I was like, I leave. I'm going. Had the going away dinners that night. Thanks, guys. I don't know how long I'll be. I'm out of here.
You're back the next week.
Playing footy next week.
I played footy next week. Yeah, I played footy.
Man.
So, but whilst I was in Canada, I got off and I flew to Toronto. Thought I'm going to live there, live out some dreams. Let's give it a go. And I got off and I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. So when the government were continually to push back my visa, I had a job lined up and they weren't giving me a visa and everything. I wasn't too mad. I wasn't too angry. Yeah, I'd spent a lot of money, but it was just money, like at the end of the day. So I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. And I just remember walking through a park in Toronto and I started nodding and I was like, yes, you idiot. You need to do another run. One more run.
One more run.
One
just
more.
occurred to you in the park in
just
Toronto.
Waltzing around while all my money's run out, contemplating which park bench I'm going to sleep on that night. Yeah. So came back and it was funny. So then I picked where I was going to run home from. That was the Gold Coast. So I'm going to run back from the Gold Coast home, 1,500 kilometers. And that felt 90% right. That felt 90% right. It's like, okay, yes, I'm supposed to do this run, but something's just missing. And I reckon if things were flipped round within the 3 days, this interview would have been a hell of a lot different. Because 3 days later, went on my first date with my wife. And I was like, if I went on this date first, I probably wouldn't have done the run. But I'd already announced to everyone that I'm doing the run. So you got to go through with it. So, yeah, 1,500 kilometers over 30 days. It was 50 Ks a day. The coldest day was 31 degrees. 2 pairs of shoes melted. It was it went forever. It was one of my, as dumb as it sounds, it was one of my favorite things that I've ever done in my life. I met some extraordinary people. I'd been to towns that you probably couldn't even find on a map. You know, the community was unreal. I was treated like a rock star in these little towns. Everything was amazing. It was on the news, I think, 5 times throughout the trip, which was pretty cool, even though the first time they got my name wrong, which was one of the weirdest things. So if you've ever been interviewed like that, they ask for your name.
Did they go with Jermaine? Or
they called me Jake.
Jermaine Boom was doing a run.
I wish they called me Jermaine Boom, but for some reason they called me Jake Ryan. It was Jake Ryan, which is ironic because that's one of my brother's names. And when you get interviewed, they're like, "Can you say your name and spell it out for me?" Okay, JAKEWARD. So how the hell they got Jake Ryan? And that was my nickname for footy for the next 2 years. the bastards down there. But yeah, it was one of the best things I'd ever done. All the runs have been, it's something not many other people have achieved. There are people that have gone out and done it, but to be able to change people's lives in raising money for breast cancer awareness and breast cancer research, to be able to change my wife's life. So 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and knowing that some of the money that I had raised had gone to my wife's recovery, I could probably cry now talking about it. It was something else. It was, that run is very, very hard to describe. It was when, it could be a number, and so much was happening off camera, like behind the scenes, that I believe a lot of people would have given up. So, there were stages where I was cutting holes in my shoes because my ankles and feet were swelling so bad they just weren't fitting in my shoes. I was injured going into the run, so I was just trying to trickle home. There's so much more, but some of the funny things were I would do an update throughout the day. Hey, everyone, 25 Ks in. I'm in rock bottom, Idaho, nowhere. It's been really good. Can't wait to get into this town to have a feed. But I would literally be lying on the car, and I'm like, I got to make a video. And I would slowly, like a zombie, drag myself up, get my phone out the car, and it was like 3, 2, 1. Hey, because I didn't want anyone to worry at home. I didn't want my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, because I proposed at the finish line. I didn't want her to worry. I didn't want my mum to worry. And I wanted everyone that was watching to be inspired. And if you weren't inspired, to sit there and go, you know what, I can't, I don't want to send these 15 emails out, but here's bloody Jake running across the country. I can get these 15 emails done. You know what, I can't be bothered going to the gym. Well, this crazy son of a gun, I'm going to the gym. Or just show people that the average person can achieve phenomenal things. And I'm a huge, I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I just think, that if you really put your mindset in the right spot, you can achieve anything. And that's something that I've really tried to take with me my whole life. And I think it's stuff that has helped my wife recover from cancer, because she's exactly the same as me. We're just a couple of positive Petes, just always in the right headspace. My wife finds out she's got cancer. She turns to me and goes, "You have saved my life with all the runs that you've done. Thank you." And I'm like, shit. And then we go to a charity fundraiser that night instead of crying and dwelling. We cried. We did what we had to do. But, the old school me would have gone to the pub, 15 beers, get angry, probably punch a hole in the wall. But, I've got this beautiful woman who's about to lose all of her long blonde hair and goes, "You know what? You saved my life." And I turned to her and I said, "Nothing wrong will happen with you. We're going to be fine." And from there, that was the bar that we set. And that's the bar that we set with anything that we do in life, because we're not afraid. We're not afraid to fail. So, doing all those runs, I'm riddled with arthritis. I can't be a very good arm wrestler. It takes me 4 goes and 7 grunts to get off the couch. But when I see these women recovering from cancer and not having, because, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was almost a death sentence. Now you got a lot better chance of coming out the other end like a champ. And my wife's one of them. And It's one of my
Yeah, my
favorite.
wife is as well, mate. So thank you very much
you
for all
go.
your efforts in making something happen that might not have otherwise happened.
Yeah, and thank you, and it's awesome to hear that about your wife. So, and it was awesome at the community. You know, I raised just over $100,000, and you know, I wasn't a celebrity or anything. I didn't rely on anyone, but the love and support, like this arm
Not
wrestling.
then. I mean,
Yeah.
now though, eh?
Yeah.
But even now, I rely on the community to help me out at the moment, and that's what everyone did. They backed their Aussie punter, and off we went. And yeah, look, there was times during the run I got sad. There's times now where I get sad because it doesn't matter how much money I raise, doesn't matter how many bones I break or smash. You know, I can raise $10 billion. I can't have a couple with my cousin. I can't have a beer with my auntie, you know. So those things sometimes play on my mind, but knowing Dave's wife, my wife, someone in Brazil messaged me and saying my wife's fighting and she watches your videos every day as inspiration to keep on going. It's like, yeah, it's very, very humbling is probably a huge word. Very humbling that this man, 40 minutes southeast from Melbourne, can make an impact on whatever he does.
But in those moments where you're putting your body through that, and especially after having had a couple of warm up goes, and that third time, is there something that you learn about yourself that you didn't know before?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dave. I want to say yes, but I always want to say no. So, like, always in the back of my mind, I knew, especially, you know, the darker days, the good days, the bad days, or whatever, I always knew that if my mind's in the right spot, you will never give up. You will never tap out. Yeah, you'll never tap out. So, yeah, well, one thing I may have learned that I can probably be in a good mood a lot more than being in a bad mood. You know, I'll spend 30 days on the road. I'm sore, I'm tired, but I can still treat people very nicely, you know, because there's a lot of times where you're like, leave me alone, I'm sore. And it's like, well, no, just treat people nicely. Oh, yep, I am the guy running home. Cool. I'd love a beer. Absolutely. Yep. Can we sit over here? Because these chairs are more comfortable and things like that. But yeah, it was just because I always knew. Probably the one thing I learned was I didn't realize how far and wide I could reach from my house. I didn't realize that where it was somewhere in South America, they actually played me on one of their variety shows as a clip of the week.
Wow.
As in, this Australian guy's running such and such distance to raise money for breast cancer. And they just showed me a little clip because someone messaged me it. Yeah, so I learned you can really take your talents and learned that I always knew I wouldn't quit, but it never crossed my mind quitting. That was something I was pretty impressed about because when you're cutting holes in your shoes or you're lying in bed, you're sore, you're tired, you're falling asleep talking to your girlfriend who needs you at the time, and I needed her, which is my wife, and I'm falling asleep talking to her. So she's waited all day to talk to me, and this is all I give her. And then the lady on the weather tells me it's another 35-degree day. And it's day 7 of 30. So it's like, not only do you have to get another 50 kilometers, you got to get through another couple of weekends and a couple of weeks and things like that. And to once never think of pulling the pin was something that I was very impressed within myself.
Well, certainly spreading a message far and wide seems to have become your thing, and as the channel continues to grow far and wide and more people tune in, we very much hope. And I think if you do happen to land a big name sponsor, it's probably as a result of the Daily Combat podcast.
Yeah, of course. We'll take 80%.
Yeah.
80%.
So
This better be a bloody big sponsorship. I'm about to have a baby, and you're trying to take food off the table, Matt. Oh, so you're better than that. I hope you step on Lego.
That's right. You could always go for another run. It'll be fine.
Oh, Dave, I can't even run a bath these days, let alone go for a run around the
Not even
park.
a bubbly bath.
Oh,
A Ron Bubble
no.
bath.
Ron bubble bath.
A Ron Bubble bath. They might, yeah. I need both hips replaced. I need a clean out in my left knee. I've got arthritis in my hands, in my hips, and it's slowly coming into my feet. I have a shoehorn at 37 years old. Sometimes my wife puts my shoes on. Even though she's the heavily pregnant one, she's sometimes giving me a nudge to help me off the couch. I don't sleep. I probably sleep a collectively 2.5 hours a night because I in the last 10 years, I've never sat on a couch or lied in a bed comfortably. You know, when you just had that bad day and you're just like, I haven't had that in about 10 years. But once again, as mentioning before, if your mindset's in the right spot, I'm a happy guy. I'm a very happy guy. Not many people fall in love on the first day. Not many people have had an
That was
argument.
the first time you arm wrestled?
Yeah. First time I arm wrestled, I'd never trained. Was that an interesting tournament? So I was working in disability at the time. Did that for 11 years, and I was doing an active night. So an active night, you have to stay awake all night. And it got to about 2 a.m, and that's the arm wrestling brain started tickling. And I was like, I wonder if there's any arm wrestling tournaments around. Because I didn't know how long, but I knew my footy career was finishing, and I always want to compete. So I was like, I just typed in, where's the arm wrestling tournament in Victoria? And one started in 10 hours or 12 hours. So I rang my brother and said, hey, mate, we're going to this arm wrestling tournament. We're going to compete tomorrow. It's a WAL qualifier. We're pulling. Off we go. And I rang my cousin. He didn't want to compete, but he goes, I'll come have a few beers and watch. So my cousin, he came and we turned up and not knowing the rankings and everything. So I went and weighed myself at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was 94.5 kilos, and the division was 95 and under. So I thought, beauty, I'm kosher. I won't eat anything. I'll go to the toilet. That'll be fine. Come waltzing up to the tournament, take my kit off. I'm 96.1.
No.
So
you're in the heavyweights.
Yeah, so I'm in the heavyweight division, and not knowing what I know now about the way the brackets work, and I'm watching and this person go, and I'm looking at this dude over in the corner. I was like, please don't let my first match be with this guy. Please don't let my first match. Anyway, the thingos just go, then the next 2 people go, and the next 2 people go, and he's still standing in the corner. And it was none other than Brett Coots. He was the first person. Man. Now, for those that don't know, Brett Coots was ranked very heavily in the world, multiple national champion, chiseled from stone, does not have 1 ounce of body fat on him, just chiseled, rock solid, won the left arm over the top in the 95s. And, yeah, he was awesome. He was great. And I stood like a foot from the table. I thought you just pivot from there. I did not know arm wrestling. I just enjoyed the sport. I did not know what you had to do. So he let me hit, and he's like, and he just looked at me. He goes, I'm going to just bring you down here. And, yeah, I reckon.
It was nice.
I reckon, yeah, wet spaghetti noodles would have put up more of a fight than I did. Yeah, that was my first tournament. I've still got the footage. But once again, almost like an audition, if that community weren't so good to me that day, because you can turn up to gyms and you see the skinny guy on the weights and you ignore him, or you can turn up to a boxing gym and if someone's getting punched all over the shop, you leave them alone, or the crap players at footy, don't tend to have a lot of mates if you're not good at footy. Where the arm wrestling community, were like, oh, in your next match, try this and try that. And I'm sitting, some of the guys who are now my friends now, because I took 2 years off after that, finished my footy career and come back, and they were like, hey, you were to recover. Yeah. Then they were like, you were at the WAL event. You were at WA event. And now
You're the guy that almost beat Brett Coots.
I nudged him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that community was awesome. So, and I was like, okay, this will be the next sport I go into. So now when I first turned up to the House of Pain and not many people wanted to train with me, but these other guys remembered me, well, they're the ones reaping the benefits of what I do. I remember everything. And I believe I'm a very loyal person. So if you were there when I was Spaghetti Arms and gave me table time or helped me out in that tournament and didn't see me for 2 years, but then still treated me like I came to training the week after and not have 2 years off, and you still treated me like a club member. Yeah, I remember that. I remember things like that. If you were subscribed to the channel, or if you knew about the channel but didn't subscribe till 2,000 people in, I'm not in a hurry to read your comments on my live show. I'm not in a hurry to help you out and get you on my show. But you were there when 10 people were watching. Cool. I'll keep an eye out for you. You want to come on the show? Absolutely. You help me out. You were there.
I kind of feel like we are the Spaghetti Arms of podcasting. So we certainly appreciate you coming on to our podcast here today, Jake. So, Jake, if people do want to follow you, I'm guessing anybody who's watched this long into the podcast now is going to be a massive fan of yours. So, if they don't already know where to go, where can they find out more on Instagram, YouTube? Where can they get you, mate?
Yeah, so I'm only on the 3. I'm 37, man. Social media is hard. It takes up so much time. But you just go to YouTube and type in Aussie ArmWrestler, and for your international audience, it's a double S. Not a double Z. Some people have messaged me. They go, I can't find you because of the way we say it. We say Aussie ArmWrestler, and it's the same everywhere. Just type that in to Facebook, type that into Instagram, and I guarantee you I'm the most unique and entertaining way to watch the sport of arm wrestling. That's why you should subscribe to my channel.
That and check out the live streams of all of the combat sports that are appearing on the channel now as well. So I reckon I've tuned into at least one fight, and I didn't have any access to it or anything like that, but I listened to it like I had my ears to the wireless, like it was the first test of the Bodyline series. It was it was fantastic, mate. So thanks so much for joining us again on the podcast, and ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together one more time for Jake, Aussie ArmWrestler Ward.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It's a damn crime quickly that not enough people watch and support this show. I am a fan, so I'm very happy to be on the show.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. We appreciate it, and at least we got one view for this week out of you. So thank you very much, mate. We'll look forward to hopefully we can do all of this again and talk about all ranges of arm wrestling subjects in the not too distant future, mate.
Just name your time.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much again.